Dragon Ball Super episode 124 is now officially in the history books as we make our way towards Dragon Ball Super episode 125 with the debut of Toppo, the God of Destruction candidate, who is actually going to be revealing more of his power as he goes head to head with both Android 17 and Golden Frieza in the upcoming episode. And I do want to go ahead and welcome Jessica back onto the channel as we are going to be discussing Toppo and his influence going into the next episode. Now, I do want to say a lot of people don't like Toppo for various different reasons. Some people make fun of his, overall design and his legs being too skinny and his mustache looking funny. Other people critique him for actual development and not doing anything as a fighter in the tournament. For me, I would critique the character not just because of the way he looks, but because of his overall influence. Now, as the leader of the Pride Troopers, he's only done so much in the tournament itself, and I personally think that now is the best time for him to actually prove himself in the tournament as he goes head to head against Android 17 and Golden Frieza. And just for a quick little reminder, guys, if you guys enjoy the content that you guys see on this channel, and of course love Dragon Ball, don't forget to go ahead and punch that subscribe button, turn on all notifications, and slap a like down below if you guys are stoked for the upcoming episode. Now, Jessica, what I wanted to ask you is, what are your initial thoughts in seeing Toppo reveal more of his power, and seeing what Toppo can really do now that it's just down to him and Jiren? Jiren seems to be a bit preoccupied by fighting Goku and Vegeta, and Toppo, in and of itself, he's going to be fighting two guys as well, Frieza and 17. So what's your initial thoughts on Toppo fighting 17 and Frieza? Because between the two, I really see Frieza outlasting 17. If I had to call it down the middle, I really do believe that I can definitely see 17 going out and Toppo staying in there with Frieza. Whether or not you want to look at Toppo defeating Frieza or Frieza defeating Toppo is up to you. I see it to where Frieza beats Toppo, and thus leaving it down to Goku, Vegeta, and Frieza versus Jiren, and thus having, Vegeta be the next one to get thrown out during episode 126. But anything can go. Legit, anything can go. So what I wanted to ask you is, what's your initial thoughts on 17 and Frieza, and how powerful do you think Toppo is going to be now that he's going to be unleashing this power during next week's episode?
So I think that for episode 125, that Toppo is going to be much stronger, obviously, going into releasing the God of Destruction type power. I think that it's definitely going to be something worth watching, even from Toppo, because we don't know much about each specific god's power, and we don't know if his god power is going to differ from what we've seen from Goku versus Beerus. So I think it's going to be interesting to get to see Toppo display a God of Destruction-like power, when the only real powers we've seen from the Gods of Destruction is in the Tournament of Power, when the three gods were fighting a little bit. We saw some with Champa and then from Beerus. So I think it's going to be cool to see if the God of Destruction power is universal and is always going to be the same no matter who is the person displaying it, or if Toppo will have specific quirks about the way that he fights with his God of Destruction level type power, and if that's going to be unique to him fighting. So that's something that I know I'm interested to see, especially from Toppo, just because I was not expecting this from him.
Right.
So to get to see it, especially versus characters like 17 and Frieza, I think it's going to be pretty cool. And moving forward with Frieza and 17, I mean, for episode 124, I thought that Gohan and Frieza, though it was a pairing that I enjoyed seeing, it was a very unlikely pairing that I actually did not expect them to get along while fighting. To see Frieza so willing to take order from Gohan and be like, alright, you're the team captain, you know what's best, let's get this done.
It's because he already knows what he wants, so he's just milking it in. He's just waiting. I mean, it's very apparent. Dispo called him out on it. He's like, I know what you want. You want to be the last one in the ring. And that's what, Frieza truly wants to do. I mean, which is why it explains towards the end, if you saw the way he wrung out Gohan, he wasn't going to take no for an answer. It's not like he wasn't willing to, ring out Gohan for his own good. He was willing to do whatever just to ensure his position in the tournament so far. So, but I mean, like, going into, like, episode 125, do you see 17 surviving, or do you see 17 going? Because with the confirmation that 131 is going to be the final episode, I really do believe that now we're going to start, like, narrowing, like, just things down. No, apparently, I mean, I just think that they're going to start narrowing things down to where it was very unexpected to see Gohan and Dispo go out in the same episode. So do you see a likely scenario to where Toppo and 17 might get wrung out in the next episode, or perhaps maybe one of them? What's your initial thoughts on that?
I mean, to see it in a position where 17, because we already know that 17 can encapsulate people in his bubble type shield technique. So I think if he's able to hold Toppo back in that shield move again, then that's definitely a good segue for Frieza to bring them both out. But this is something that we already saw in, was it 122 when Gohan hesitated to bring the both of them out?
Yes, it was, yeah.
So, I mean, we already saw something like that, so it's either to where they're gonna bring it back because we already saw something like that, or they're not gonna do it again because they missed the opportunity the first time to ring him out while the both of them were in the bubble type mode. So, I mean, I think it's possible that, that both of them will go out at the same time, just because, you know, it seems like right now that's the easiest way to ring out characters instead of like the remaining fighters wasting their stamina. Like, it was much easier for Frieza to just ring them both out at the same time instead of both Gohan and Frieza struggling to get Dispo out on their own. So I do think, you know, though Frieza has his own intentions and is very tactical in his own way, that was a very good action on Frieza's part, and I foresee that if he has that chance to ring out both Toppo and 17 like that, that's going to be the easiest way for him to go, just because, you know, that's no problem to him, because at the end of the day, they still have the advantage in numbers. Had time ended, you know, right there, they would still have the numbers up, so they'd still win because of that. And so I think that, you know, if he sees that opportunity, that's definitely something I would see Frieza taking.
So what are your thoughts on Toppo's new power? Because I'm sorry, I don't mean to crap on Toppo, and I know a lot of people might be watching and they might be fans of Toppo, but he reminds me so much of Hulk Hogan without his shirt. It's just hilarious because it's almost as if like his skin changes color, and I understand how much the suit means to him because that was made apparent during the Zen exhibition match when he fought Goku, and he said, listen, this is most valuable to me. This is what, you know, my pride represents, is the suit. So just by, you know, just by his suit being torn during the Zen exhibition match caused him to be so infuriated to where even the Daishinkan had to stop the fight. It's interesting to see what's going to happen in next week's episode, because based on the severity of Frieza and 17's combined attack, it looks like it's enough to legitimately tear his entire suit apart. So if that's the case, if Goku tearing the suit back during the Zen exhibition match meant so much to Toppo and enraging him, imagine now and having his, you know, one and only representation of what he stands for being, you know, taken from him, and now unleashing more of this power. What I wanted to ask you is, I mean, where would you stack up Toppo now? On a comparative level to Frieza, on possibly a comparative level to Goku and Vegeta, where would you see Toppo stack up to now? Because so far in the show, he hasn't done anything of significant importance, which is why I kind of have a bit of a drawback for him, because until he proves himself otherwise, then I can fully say, okay, I'm gonna be behind Toppo, but we haven't really seen much from him. So when he goes up against 17, when he goes up against Golden Frieza especially, do you see Toppo having the upper hand against Golden Frieza and 17, in which it forces perhaps maybe Vegeta and or Goku to break off and helping them? Because it's essentially down to, I believe, 2-on-4, so with the other two having a problem with Toppo and his God of Destruction like energy, you're only going to need someone else to step in to help out. So do you see Goku or Vegeta stepping in to help him out, or do you see a definitive fight, a definitive conclusion between Frieza, 17, and Toppo to where nobody else gets involved, but there is going to be a clean finish between the three? What do you think?
Well, both Goku and Vegeta, in my opinion, moving forward, are just going to stay so fixated on Jiren that I feel like it might even be to the point where if Frieza and 17 are in some sort of trouble, that I think that they're just going to be so tied up in the fight that it just won't really matter to them as much, because now that, in my opinion, Gohan was the main tactics and the main brain behind the whole teamwork type thing.
Right. Now
that they don't have Gohan on the stage preaching teamwork to them, I truly think that those ideals will be held a little less high for them, and that at the end of the day, you know, Vegeta's gonna realize it's his pride and it's his transformations moving forward, and, you know, realizing that he wants to obtain the power that Goku had achieved. And then Goku moving forward is going to realize that fighting Jiren is how he achieved such great power, and, you know, he was in the tournament to fight the highest people. And so I think that, you know, moving forward, they both have every reason to not leave the fight with Jiren, even for a moment. Because I couldn't imagine, you know, Vegeta turning his back and then Goku, like, not that I think it would happen, but Goku ringing out Jiren or something happening to Jiren, and then Vegeta never lets Goku live it down that he missed his only opportunity to fight Jiren. So, little things like that, I think, is the reason why I don't foresee Goku or Vegeta helping out 17 and Frieza against Toppo. And I think that, you know, even with the new God of Destruction power, it seems that from what we've already seen in some of the more recent episodes, is that both 17 and Frieza have no problem cooperating with teamwork.
Right.
I mean, 17 was quick to point out how he didn't get on well teamwork-wise with Gohan, so it was a little bit difficult for them to fight together. However, I think, though, that moving forward, since they're both very quick to accept teamwork, that, you know, with Frieza knowing that he needs to be the last one standing, and with 17 knowing he's in it to protect himself and others, that I think it's gonna be, they might fare well on their own against Toppo, because truly, like you said, we haven't seen much from him in the anime thus far, so we really don't have much to go by on his power level and on how he fares against other fighters. You know, we've only really truly seen him fight in the Z Exhibition match, and that was even interrupted, so we don't really have much to go by on how he is power length. We can just assume that since he has God of Destruction power, that he's going to be somewhat relative to an actual one of the gods that we've seen fight.
So do you think that his power is going to be relative to an actual deity? I mean, even though he is a candidate to be a god, it's kind of hard to, for at least for me, to accept the fact that he's going to be as strong as Belmod. I don't really think that Toppo is going to be as comparative to a god like Beerus or Belmont, but I really do think that he's going to be so close to them in power that, if anything, he might be one of the top 3 strongest people in the tournament after he releases this power, second to Jiren and Goku, I would have to say. So, I mean, as we transition forward, though, who do you see ringing out Toppo if that's the case? Because for me, I would narrow it down like this. I do feel like 17's gonna go, unless of course they want to swerve us and somehow we have Frieza go instead of 17 first, but I really do think that 17's gonna go next. And with that being said, I think that once Toppo tosses out 17, I think that it's only fitting to have Golden Frieza and Toppo fight fully, and then in some way, shape, or fashion, we can have Golden Frieza ring out Toppo, because as we saw in the latest manga chapter, Frieza had created thousands and thousands of simulated images in his head of killing Goku, of killing Vegeta, and that's how he got stronger. So in the anime, he's done the exact same thing. He's gotten way stronger than how he was prior in Resurrection of F. So I feel like there's more for Frieza to give, especially when we first saw true Golden Frieza, and him having to reveal his energy to Goku after he told him, well, I don't really have an energy draining problem anymore because I perfected my golden power. I think that it's only fitting to see Frieza eliminate Toppo, and then if episode 126 introduces the idea of Vegeta getting wrung out by Jiren, only then could we have Goku and Frieza versus Jiren in the end. But do you think that's going to be the case, or do you see Toppo cleaning house and ringing out both Frieza and 17, and then just paving the way for the final 4, which is going to be Toppo and Jiren versus Goku and Vegeta? What do you think about that?
Well, the fight between Frieza and Toppo was something that, you know, I know many other people have wanted to see since the beginning of the tournament. So realistically, I know ringing out 17 would give us that fight that we've all been kind of longing to see. Because, you know, it kind of feels like we've gotten shafted on all of the fights that we were either excited for or promised. So, to get to see that, I definitely think would be cool. However, I feel like, realistically, if they don't have plans to keep Frieza in the ongoing episodes of Dragon Ball. So if Dragon Ball does continue after the hiatus, that if they don't have plans to bring Frieza back, then it would not make sense for him to win. So I feel like, you know, if they have no plans on bringing him back, then it makes sense for him to go out now, and that he really doesn't serve much of a purpose to stay in the tournament any longer. Because if he was going to wish himself back, and he was going to stay in the series and be a villain or be a good guy, whatever theory you may have with that, stay in the series, then I feel like it would make sense for him to be one of the top 3 remaining fighters for Universe 7. But if they have no plans on making him a permanent character, then I really think that it's gonna be like a dumb waste to keep him in the top 3 and to keep him at any hope that he might be the winner of the tournament. Because it's possible that if 17 and Toppo are the next 2 to go out by Frieza bringing the both of them out at once, then I feel that moving forward, all Frieza has to do is hide for like the last like 5 or 6 minutes of the tournament and let Jiren and Goku and Vegeta like kind of fight it out,
right.
And then he could easily be the last one standing from that, which is something that I would see as a waste, because like I said, if they don't have the permanence in mind for him, then why is he gonna win? So I think that keeping 17 in and like keeping 17 over Frieza is definitely something that I would prefer to see, because I could foresee 17 becoming one of the main permanent characters again if Dragon Ball gets continued past the tournament. Just because it makes sense, because we get to see 18 all the time, and we were introduced to him and given a little bit of a backstory on what he did since the last time we saw him in Z. So I think that gave a little bit more of wanting to see more from 17. So it would make sense that moving on after the tournament, he would become a permanent character, which I think would be, you know, more confirming, I guess, in a way, to get to see him become top 3 fighters for
me. I would have to stick with Frieza on this one. I mean, I don't really see Frieza getting wrung out. I think that they're going to execute his story. They're going to tell the narrative as to why he's here. I mean, what his essential goals are. He wants to control the gods. I mean, that's already been established, but I think that they're going to keep him around because they need to finish up and they need to, you know, tell that definitive story of Frieza and him being brought back and everything in between, because there's still more to tell from that side of the story. But I feel like ever since the announcement of, you know, the ending of Super, it's more or less it feels like more like a countdown now. Every single time we're watching Super, it's just like we're counting down the days until it's finally over, and the last episode is going to be episode 131, and that's going to be the definitive conclusion of everything we've seen so far within the last 2.5 years of Super. And we would like to know your thoughts down below, guys. What are your overall thoughts on Hollywood Hulk Toppo? He looks very he looks just like Hulk Hogan. Every single time I'm looking at him during the preview, he just looks like Hulk Hogan to me. But I do have faith that he's going to do some damage. It's going to be interesting to see if anyone else is going to be involved in trying to help, you know, 17 and Frieza in terms of getting Toppo off of them. But post your comments down below, guys. Let us know what you all think down below. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you guys turn on all notifications. Also, guys, don't forget to check out Popo's bedroom, aka Jessica's channel, down in the description box, guys. It'll really mean a lot to me and her as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a great day, guys. Peace.